So I've just been in a heated debate with somebody following the Russia Today channel. I've made a few videos about this, and I'm not going to sort of hide anything. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I test Russia Today. I think it is it's a piece of garbage because it is so blatantly obvious that they're pushing a Kremlin agenda. And what I think what fucks me off more about RT than perhaps other networks, and the thing is that the usual retort of RT zealots is, well, why are you picking on RT? Every network is biased. This is true. This is true. Every network is biased. So why do I focus more on RT than the others? Although I have been pretty vocal in my criticism of CNN recently, but the reason I'm so critical of Russia Today is that, I mean, firstly, let's take Fox. Fox is a complete mouthpiece of the right wing American viewpoint, no question about it. Fox used to really drive me crazy seeing just how absurdly one sided they were. But the thing about Fox is they tend to be restricted to within the United States, and they have a few international outlets in Latin America, and I think perhaps the Philippines, but they certainly don't broadcast widely across, for example, Russia and Europe and so on. I think what really bothers me about Russia today, more than anything else, is just how stupid RT zealots are. Their rationale is that RT is not mainstream media. Now, I've come to the conclusion that mainstream media, it's a rather nonsensical term in some ways, because what do we really mean by it? Mainstream. If that allegation means that a particular network panders to a government, then RT is absolutely mainstream. Um, and a network like Channel 4, to be fair to it, it's consistent. Now, the reason I'm defending Channel 4 is because it's a British network, but they have been critical of the British government in a way you would never, ever see RT doing with the Russian government. Um, Channel 4 has had investigative reports into all sorts of things to do with American and British power, and they've also scrutinise Russian power and Saudi power. And I think I think why Channel 4 does have the degree of support it has is that it is more independent than the others. Now, I'm sure there'll be areas where I can criticise Channel 4 on. At times it can be accused of having a left wing bias, but I don't think anyone can accuse it of having a government bias, and that's very important. It does have perhaps a left wing bias, and that's, the truth is there's no network that at some point isn't going to wind me up in some way. But RT probably more so than the others. And the reason is because a disturbingly high number of people blindly believe that it is a beacon of truth. Because I think it suits their narrative. They have an anti Western outlook in the world. That the West is bad, and anything that isn't the West, that anything is in opposition to the West, whether it be disagreements or militarily or whatever, is good. So they have a very black and white view of the world. And RT basically validates their opinions. Russia Today will always try to pretend that they're not biased. They will do things like invite people on that are supposedly independent. But when you actually look into it, those people have often written blogs for RT. They're often openly sympathetic to, for example, the Assad regime. So you can't invite people on your show to pretend to be having a different point of view when they're really just there to validate your point of view. They're always, for example, inviting ex CIA people, and there's no network I can think of that is more prone to pushing conspiracy theories than RT. So any conspiracy theory, that is to say, any sort of theory that presents the US or British government in bad light, RT will peddle that as truth. Now, about conspiracy theories, I'm not saying there is no truth in them. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying let's just dismiss them offhand. But what you notice about RT is that they take these things as gospel truth. So they're not interested in just reporting the facts, they're interested in pushing an agenda. And again, you can accuse many networks of this. CNN was definitely pro-Democrat during the election, and you can find many examples of it. But RT, you just get this mentality. Ironically, actually, there's similarities with Fox News because both are ultra-nationalist. Both have people who insist that it isn't mainstream media. Fox loves to say it isn't mainstream media. Russia Today loves to say it isn't mainstream media. They actually have more in common than they think. Um, and they both, well, especially RT, gravitates towards authoritarian strongmen like Putin. Um, I just find it infuriating that, and I think the reason I find it infuriating is because the power of the media is immense. It really is immense. With the exception of countries that have complete control over the media, such as China. And even then, that's the Communist Party maybe isn't as powerful as it used to be. The power of mass media is immense. That is why it's so critical that all networks are scrutinized. And what annoys me is when people criticize RT, they're immediately accused I got accused of supporting imperialist Western media. So the insinuation is that if you criticize RT, you by extension automatically support Western media. Well, that's not the case. I've criticized CNN, I've criticized Fox, I've criticized the BBC. The world is not black and white, and that's what these RT morons need to understand. And, I know I shouldn't mudsling, but they really do work me up with their incredible stupidity and incredible naivety that they just blindly believe, for example, the Assad propaganda that Assad is just killing terrorists and anyone in Syria who opposes Assad is a terrorist. That is a cruel insult to men, women, and children murdered by Assad's bombs. It's also actually an insult to those people murdered by the Islamist thugs because Assad doesn't see a difference between the Islamist groups and any Syrian who opposes him. And people can say, well, that's the nature of a civil war, but it was Assad that began this. I just get so worked up with just how insanely biased Russia Today is. I mean, you will notice that they never ever have a critical report on the Russian government. Never. That to me is telling. And when you really look at it, which country has a better track record on press freedom? If you look at the US, Russia Today operates freely. Okay, so their hacks can come out and put a spin on every single report that it's some wicked CIA conspiracy. Voice of America, which is the US state-run agency, cannot operate in Russia. So which side is more tolerant to free press? Not that there is, not that free press is something that we see a lot of, but the point I'm making is RT it has such obnoxious hypocrisy. And this is a network, make no mistake about it, that is run by Russian ultra-nationalists who detest the idea of glorious Mother Russia being criticized. They are in their editorial office thinking up ways in which to make Britain, France, or America look terrible every single day. It's disgusting. Not because they're criticizing Britain, France, or America, but because they are so one sided and they pretend that they're not. If RT was scrutinizing the Russian government, I really would have no objection because some of the reports they make are valid enough. Okay, so I don't have an issue with them reporting on problems with the welfare system in the UK. In fact, I'm pleased that someone is. But the reason I get so worked up about RT is because so many people blindly believe that it isn't biased when it so clearly is. And the obnoxious nature of their anchors, the smug, sarcastic way in which they go about things, it drives me nuts, to be quite honest. And people will say, "Oh, just don't watch it." Well, I don't, but I still see it coming up on my newsfeed and on different sources, and it's just so frustrating that people cannot see what they are doing, which is promoting the Putin foreign policy. That's what they are doing. I mean, this is Pravda. This is. Uh, and as for so-called independent people, they get the likes of George Galloway, who is well known for vociferously hating anything that the British. I mean, he's extremely anti-British, anti-American government, and that's fine. But George Galloway is an odious hypocrite who has praised dictators and then pretended that he didn't. The man is a complete disgrace. I suppose it's good that he's went to RT, but RT operates in London. I don't frankly know why. I don't see why we should tolerate a hostile foreign government body, which, as far as I'm concerned, that's what RT is, spreading their propaganda and putting a spin on every single damn thing. It infuriates me. That journalist that I mentioned before, Eva Bartlett, she's a good example. RT holds her up as an independent journalist. She's not. She's written a blog for RT, so I assume she's got a salary from them. Even if she's not directly on the staff, the fact of the matter is, you have to wonder why RT is so quick to hold her up as some sort of messenger of truth. Simple, because she supports Assad, which fits RT's agenda. Anyway, I'll leave it there because I'm just going to repeat myself, and it does my head in. Look, I know every network is biased, and no network should be above criticism. But I think what works me up most of all about RT is how incredibly naive RT zealots are. I'm not talking about people who kind of look at one or two reports and kind of show some interest. I'm talking about people who slavishly defend RT. And by the way, that's another different factor. People who watch CNN don't tend to be really, really die-hard supporters of CNN. They watch it, but they don't really, they won't like go out of the way to defend it. With RT viewers, you'd almost think that they're extended members of the staff. They're so hell bent on defending it. Says it all, really.